Okay, I'm back. All right, so we're halfway through this episode. I hope you're enjoying everything. If you are, consider subscribing to the podcast, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. You know, quick plug. Okay, getting back into it. Number 6, invest in your coach athlete relationship. Wow, what a big point. Your relationship with your coach is one of the most important that you will have in college. Why? Because your coach isn't just the person that you see every day at practice, your coach is writing your training. They're kind of like, that's a big deal. They're writing your training. Um, they set you up in your races. They're rooting for you. They know your strengths, they know your weaknesses, and they should be your biggest supporter in college, aside from you, your teammates, your family, if your family is very supportive. Like, it's a very important relationship. So what do you do when you have an important relationship in college? You invest time and energy into it. The first thing that you do, practical steps. Let's say you're a freshman, you're stepping onto campus. First thing you want to do, observe and listen. Be very observant of how your coach interacts with your teammates. What you want to do is get a sense of the type of person that your coach is. Like, what's their personality? What's their behavior? What do they really appreciate in athletes? What do they really dislike that athletes will do, right? Just think about those 4 things. Keep an eye out for red flags, because I will tell you, I have a fantastic coach and I'm very happy with our relationship, like our coach athlete relationship. Not every coach at the collegiate level is like great. Some coaches are going to push you in the opposite direction of your goals, push you the opposite of your direction of your success. And that's because you're not compatible, or who even knows? They may have some other stuff. There's like a lot of factors involved. But anyways, you want to make sure that your coach is someone who will listen to you and respect you, respect when you advocate for yourself, and someone who kind of knows what they're talking about, right? So just because they're in a position of authority doesn't mean that you can't kick the tires on things. That means asking questions. Why are we doing this? Not like disrespectful, but like, oh, maybe you're discussing training for the month and you say, oh, that's really interesting. Like, how do I build aerobic capacity? And listen to their answer. And then go home and look up an answer and see, like, obviously your coach is probably the better authority than Google. However, I don't know, just poke around a little bit. Okay, so yes, you want to, number one, first step in the process, kind of feel out your coach a little bit, see what they're like. Then when number 2, the next thing you want to do is establish yourself as an athlete. Be coachable. Listen to your coach. Be responsive to critiques from your coach, and you should be getting critiques from your coach because that means that they're invested and they care about your success. Actively show your coach that you are invested in the success of your team. That means being a good teammate. That means acting with integrity. That means working hard at practice. If you're a vocal person, be very vocal about your goals. If you're not a very vocal person, then find other ways to show to your coach. Put your dedication and your investment into your sport right in your coach's hand. It should be very clear that you care a lot about your sport. Yes. So that's like both sides, right? Look at your coach. Make sure your coach sees you. Okay, very basic stuff here. Now, let's talk about 2 different points that may not be as obvious. Number 1, if your coach is open to it, try to be a little bit more like vulnerable with your coach. What do I mean by this? Obviously, set boundaries for yourself. That's the second part. But what I mean by this is a lot of coaches in college want to know the extenuating circumstances that impact your training. Because you're training at such a high level, things like your academic stresses, your personal stresses, they are probably going to have an impact on your training. It's a good thing for your coach not to be in the dark about that. So if you I don't know, something really stressful happened in your family and you couldn't really get any sleep last night, I would suggest that you tell your coach, because if you've looked at them and you know that they're open to hearing that kind of stuff, it's not making an excuse, but you're kind of like accounting for if you come to practice and you're super fatigued, be like, hey, you know, I just want to let you know I like had some family issues last night. I'm really not feeling too good today, like, but I'm going to give you my best effort today. And I'm not like slacking off. I'm just trying to do the best that I can do. Stuff like that. And it doesn't have to be negative stuff too. Let's say that you asked to go home for a weekend. You're going to miss a long run. Oh, why are you going home for the weekend? Oh, my sibling is graduating. My sibling is graduating from the University of Pittsburgh, and I'm very proud of her, and my whole family's going to be there. Bam. You just created another connection point for your coach. They see you as more of a person, and that is going to strengthen your relationship because, you know, training is not like Legos. Like, you can't just build it. Oh my goodness, sorry. You can't just like build it perfectly. Like, you guys are two human beings with lives, and that's going to impact the way things go. It's also going to impact the way your coach is. Sometimes your coach comes to practice and is in a really bad mood or is a little snappy, and like, you don't need to know what's going on in their life, but just know that like maybe something's going on in their life that's causing them to be stressed. And like, that's very normal. That's called having a working relationship. Okay. So yes, if your coach is open to it, try to be vulnerable with them. If they ask you how you're doing or what else is going on in your life, just find something and tell them about it. It does not have to be your deepest, darkest secret. It should not be. You know, I don't know. I had a test yesterday and I felt like it went really well. You know, I'm happy for you. I learned something really cool in class today. I would love to share it with you. Okay. I saw a movie. I watched a movie last night about sports and it made me think about our training. Like, have a working relationship with your coach. Okay, the second part that's a little bit less obvious, but it kind of is though, set boundaries with your coach. Okay, now you're in college. You are your number one advocate. You are an adult. It's not up to your parents to advocate for you. It's not up to your friends and your teammates to advocate for you. If you need something or you need something to change, be direct and clear with your coach. How are you going to go about this? I guess my number one thing to avoid in terms of, you know, setting boundaries with your coach, try not to spread negative energy around the team about it. Like, don't be messy. If you have an issue with the way that your coach is coaching, have a conversation with them. Or even little things. I think this really like enhances a coach's respect for you and your respect for them, because respect is important and it's non-negotiable in college. But let's say your knee's been nagging you for about a week and a half, and the plan that your coach wrote down is that you're going to go out and run 8 miles today, but you feel that it's a good idea for you to cross train instead. Talk to your coach and be like, hey coach, my knee's been bothering me for about a week and a half. I'm starting to feel that I should be a little bit more careful around it. Can I bike today for an hour instead of running 8 miles? Your coach may be like, yeah, sure, that's a great idea. How about you bike for 90 minutes instead of an hour? Sounds good, coach. How easy was that? How easy was that? And it's hard the first time because you're telling an adult, like, oh, like you wrote a plan for me and I actually want to do something different. But the more that you do things like that and you just kind of like set a precedent with your coach that like, hey, like, this is how I like to be treated. This is how I am. These are, you know, then your coach can kind of respond to that. Because you know what your coach is going to say? They're going to look at their training for the next couple of weeks and be like, oh, maybe I need to get them out to more soft surface. Like, that's a learning opportunity for your coach as well. Oh, maybe this athlete can't handle quite as much stress on their shins because they told me that they needed to cross train for a couple days. So we're going to break down the intensity a little bit and spread it out over a couple weeks. Okay. So set boundaries with your coach. Also, if you feel that your coach is being disrespectful towards you, my suggestion is, again, that you take, I think in this case, you can talk to teammates and see if that's like a consistent thing, if it's really an issue, and maybe get together with a couple of teammates and have a conversation with your coach. But like, give your coach a chance to basically explain themselves and defend themselves so that you guys can reach an understanding that includes more respect in the future. All right, that was number 6. Number 7, sometimes less is more. This is very much not intuitive. I don't think it's intuitive because we're taught growing up that if you're not doing the absolute max that you can do, all the time that you're a capital S slacker. Um, Guys, hustle culture and grind culture is fun, it's exciting, and it's not always the answer to your challenges. Okay, so just know, I would say in college, especially, the demands of college are very high. Sometimes stress can accumulate in your body and in your frame in ways that you don't even notice. You may not even notice that your tense, like, alteration that you had with, or altercation that you had with your best friend is like impacting your running, but it probably is. Or, you know, whatever else is going on in your life. So a lot of times when you're getting to college, the training may be a little bit less intense to kind of account for like the adjustment costs of being in college. So if you're feeling that the intensity isn't as high as you would like it to be, communicate, lead with curiosity, not with arrogance. Be like, hey, I haven't felt sore since I've been here. What do you think about, like, I think I'm ready for some more intense workouts. Um, I think I'm ready to bump up the weights in the weight room. I think I'm ready to up my mileage. Um, so, yeah, sometimes less is more in terms of just making sure that all different parts of your life can be accounted for so that you can reach the optimal level of stress overall to grow as an athlete. And then here, champions are not built on flashy workouts. They're built on consistency and intentionality. So obviously, sometimes you see a documentary and you see like icons, absolute icons saying, yeah, like I just push myself to the point of throwing up every day. And I just did that for a year. And then after that, I won the Olympic gold. I mean, hey, whatever works for you works. But what I would say to you is look at the bigger picture, right? Because I would bet that that athlete, if they're so good, probably takes a nap every single day, probably gets fantastic sleep, fantastic nutrition, has a personal trainer and a personal masseuse, and they are counterbalancing their work. So, right? Because they didn't get injured. And then what you want to also do is look at like the longevity of that athlete's career. Like some athletes, I'm not saying that you shouldn't work hard. You absolutely should. Sometimes you are going to need to get to that point before you're physically exhausted and you just don't want to do it anymore. You're in excruciating pain. Sometimes you really do need to do that. So I'm not knocking hard work at all, but I'm just saying that sometimes more hard work is not always the answer. For example, think of Jane Hedengren. She just broke the collegiate 5K record. Yeah, with a time of 14:44. Incredible athlete. And in the interview right after, what did she say? She said she worked out less and she ate more. So if you feel like you're just working and working and working so hard and you're just kind of hitting a wall, you're tired all the time, you're sluggish, you're not getting your goals the way you hoped you would, maybe let's take a look at your routine. Sometimes something has to be taken out so that you can optimize on the work that you are doing. Quality over quantity. Okay. And yes, so that's sometimes less is more. And then the other part of that I just want to say is it takes discipline to listen to your body. Um, you know, like I said, we all love hustle culture. I love hustle culture. I think it's extremely motivating and extremely fun. However, like sometimes you have to twist it to contextualize in different ways. So like, for example, if you think that you need to take 3 days to cross train instead of run every day like you normally would, and like you read written down in the plan, that is the hard part. Don't let anyone ever tell you that cross training is the easy way out. I have not met a single athlete in college in my year and a half here that enjoys cross training. I've done my fair share of cross training. It's not really like, it's not like fun. Like it's just, I don't know. It's not fun. I came here to run. I like running. I enjoy running. I love it. When I am sitting on the bike and staring at a wall for 90 minutes, like, oh my goodness, not fun. Hashtag not fun. But I will do it because I know that it's helpful to my health. It's good for my mental health as well, managing stress, but it allows me to keep my fitness that I've worked so hard for. So just saying, when you have to cross train, you're not taking the easy way out. That's when you probably need hustle culture the most to like get through the hard times and get out there and swim. And you don't really know how to swim, but what else are you going to do? Right. Okay. There's just two more left in this episode. Number 8, invest in other passions. Especially when it comes to schoolwork and professional aspirations, it can be hard to juggle the juxtaposition of being an athlete, which is specific. There is this very set out training plan. There's goals and facilities and networks and an abundance of I forget the word, but abundance of resources to help you get to your goal. Pair that with, let's say you're in college and you have different professional aspirations, but you don't really know what you want to do after college. You're not really sure what you want to major in the classroom. You're not too sure what exactly it takes to get an A on a certain paper. You know, it's your first paper. You don't know what your TA grades like as the most important. You know what I mean? Sometimes life can feel kind of wishy-washy in comparison to the structure of athletics. This depends on the person, right? For example, I have teammates who are pre-med, and so they actually do have the structure. I have teammates who are engineering. They do have the structure. I have other teammates who were sociology majors. That's less structured. I have teammates who were environmental studies. That's less structured. Change their major around. And I would say that I am a person who is less structured in terms of academic and professional aspirations. And so just know it's very valid to feel less motivated towards the vague, great, breadth of other things going on in your life. However, just because you feel a little bit less motivated to going towards those goals, still do them. Take the time to make a plan. Take the time to figure out a plan. You reserve the right to change a plan. You reserve a right to change your mind. But overall, when you do those things, that's a sign that you are actually putting in time and energy into figuring it out. So yeah, sometimes you're going to have to let being a student or being an athlete take the back seat in a given week. But that doesn't mean that you don't pick up the other thing. Come back to it, pick it up again, turn it over, figure it out, talk to people, try to do research, try to get an internship, try to get into a club, try your best in your classes, get a job, do some research, whatever it is, and do some research, not in a lab. The first time I met in a lab, the second time I met, look up some potential career opportunities. Meet with career services, work on your resume, do a practice interview. All of these things can be just as exciting and just as fulfilling as your athletic journey, but you have to put them into your schedule. So, my advice to you, invest in other passions. This is also my advice to me. I struggle with this, as you can tell, because I have less of an idea of what I want to do as it stands, but I do find it fun to explore what my life is going to look like. So yeah, you're not just an athlete, you're a student athlete. Put in the work in those areas. And last but not least, focus on the journey, not just the destination. What a nice, wholesome point to bring home our episode today. We're going to start with the concept of arrival fallacy. Arrival fallacy, I've learned about this in a couple different places. The first place I've learned about the name was the Rundown Substack, which is a newsletter by Alex Ostberg. I recommend it. It's very good. And he talks about arrival fallacy. And then that comes from another podcast, The Running Effect. If you're a runner, you probably know what I'm talking about, but just want to give credit where credit's due. Basically, arrival fallacy is a concept that the first time you reach a goal, you're going to feel this euphoric, just emotional fulfillment. The second time that you reach a goal, it may not feel as good to your brain chemically. The third time you reach a goal, it may not feel good at all. The fourth time you reach a goal, and mind you, every time you're kind of stepping up in the totem pole of things, let's say you reach your fourth goal, which is objectively more impressive and harder than your first goal. Maybe that time, when you cross the line and you've run the time and you've won the meet, you just feel a sense of relief. And the lead up was just filled with anxiety, worries, doubt, pressure. So basically the arrival fallacy is the concept that winning and reaching your goals can feel less rewarding the more advanced you get, and that is a chemical phenomenon. It is valid, it is real, and it has implications for the way that you should frame your experience in college. Okay, focus on the journey, not the destination. So what does that really mean? You're spending day in and day out training with your teammates. It's okay to have fun. Like, I would suggest that you kind of soak it in and like really romanticize the day to day rather than viewing everything as an ends to a means. Because if you don't get the means, then you might be devastated. And if you do get the means, you might be disappointed. But if you focus on the journey, you'll find, continual fulfillment all the way along. And I think that is like the key to enjoying your college experience as a student athlete. So, savor every moment, have fun, dance with your teammates in the locker room, laugh with your teammates on the long run. Like, just enjoy the feeling of practicing, enjoy the feeling of pushing yourself to the limit, enjoy the feeling of a hard workout. All of those things kind of culminate to create your journey. And so my hope and my advice is that you will put, that you will value that as you're going along. So yes, thank you for listening to my episode. That was 9 tips for being a D1 student athlete, really focused on being a runner in college. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you learned something. And if you didn't learn something, I hope that you'll check out some other episodes because this isn't all that I talk about. Have a great day. Have a great week. And I'll see you next time. Ciao.